His team has been on fire, winners of 5 in a row, 13 of 16. One of the best records in the NBA over the last couple of months. Now right there in the middle of the playoff hunt in the Eastern Conference, the Orlando Magic head coach Jamahl Mosley here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Coach?
Great. How are you doing?
I was just wondering, I don't know if you were listening in to the TV audience, if I ever called any of your Colorado Buffalo highlights when you were playing back in the day. I
heard that. I don't think you did. We didn't get that. We didn't get the Monday games. I think we had maybe 1 or 2 Monday games versus Kansas, and those didn't end up well.
I was about to say, when you were playing college hoops, who was the best player you played against, Jamahl?
My first year when I got there, I played against Marcus Fizer. Then got a chance to play against Paul Pierce my freshman year. When we were at Colorado, we went to Kansas. Those were some of the first days playing.
And then, so when did you know coaching was your path? When did you realize that?
It took a while. I had played overseas for about 4 or 5 years after college. Then my mom had gotten sick, and that was the decision, just come back stateside, be closer to family, be closer to friends. And, when George and his staff took over in Denver, Coach Tim Gergerich, my mentor, kind of put me to decide what I wanted to do. He and John Welch, so had a talk with me, deciding, do you want to keep playing, going overseas, make money, or you can start your journey now. And through their mentorship and their knowledge of the game and players and the way they did it, it just kind of started to work its way out then.
When you were referring to George, you mean Carl? Is that who you're referring to? Okay. Yes. So what'd you learn from him, Jamahl?
There's so many things taken away from him. I mean, he had a poise. I just actually went back and watched our 2009 playoff series versus the Lakers, and just watching the poise that he had through games, allowing players to play, finding ways to put different wrinkles in the offense, but also defensively, helping guys understand, big moments, big timely stops, what that means within a game. But he just allowed the players just to kind of control what they did on the court.
So, okay. So you're in the middle of, obviously, the crucible of a playing season, and you're taking time out to pop a 2009 playoff game in? Like, why? Why are you doing that?
Well, a friend of mine, one of our old coaches that was there, is scouting now, and he had some looks from the Denver years, and then watching Carmelo play, there's some similarities to Paolo and what he does and how he plays the game, and so just looking back at some of those clips of how he was finding different ways to get options on the floor with how teams were playing them, and just finding open space so where double teams couldn't come. Just looking at little situations like that, but I also used reference to our group about inbounds plays and the difference of what Kobe did in that series against us, and the mindset and the mentality that you have to have.
Okay. I love this sort of stuff, by the way, Jamahl. I love this sort of stuff because I can't get enough of it. So would your comp for Paolo Banchero be Carmelo Anthony? Is that what you're kind of intimating in a way right now?
There's so many. The thing about Paolo is, like, he's so dynamic. To put him in line with just one player is to do, because he has the passing ability of a LeBron, the scoring ability of a Melo. The basketball IQ he has is just something incredible. Then the other side of it is just his poise and his demeanor in game. For a 21-year-old to have that is very rare and very special. So he's got so many combinations that it's hard to just say he's like this one person. I think he's going to be his own when it's all said and done. Like, his uniqueness is special to what we're doing.
So then how does he download that information that you give him? Hey, I just saw this, or I saw that, or this wrinkle. How does he assimilate what you're coaching him?
Well, he and I have just tried to continue to do a great job of communicating. I lean into him and what he sees on the floor, how he's getting guys involved, how he's looking at opportunities to score. And he sees the game. It slows down for him. He's seeing different coverages and how guys are guarding him, and he's recognizing that from the beginning of the game to the end. And so he communicates it. I constantly am calling him over throughout the game, because you want to get these guys feel, because they're feeling it. I can see certain things on the sideline, but for me, it's their ability to recognize it with one another and communicate that to each other.
Jamahl Mosley, the head coach of the Orlando Magic, 5-game win streak, and 11 games over 500 right now here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'm also biased, Jamahl. I'm a Wolverine. So Clearly,
Oh
you're.
man,
Well, what does that mean, oh man? What does that mean? What does that
it's
mean?
okay. We constantly have them coming through our program.
Okay.
We have Mo, we have Franz, we had Brazdeikis, we
Yeah, sure.
have King Houston. We'll keep the Wolverine coming through the pipeline.
Well, Mo is one of my favorite players from the run, the Beeline run for sure. I absolutely adore him, and obviously Franz as well. What's it like?
And Jet,
Sure, yeah. Well, what's it like coaching the brothers? Like, what's it like
it's
coaching
awesome.
brothers?
It really is awesome. I think that plays such a big part into the dynamic we have as a team. We talk about being together and guys rooting and pulling for each other. They're competitive, they're energetic, they care about the game, they're smart, and they really do just love the way in which this team plays. But they also know it's about the guys around them. Their energy is different, but the way in which they think and process the game is very similar.
And you also, it's like a United Nations on your roster, which is kind of fitting. You know, obviously with your international history. So how does the international game that you would obviously know so well translate to what you're attempting to do every single night, and obviously quite successfully right now?
Well, I think it's just being able to buy into the bigger picture, that it's something bigger than you and doing it as a team. I mean, you have Goga, you have Franz, you have Mo, you just have different guys from different areas, and Joe Ingles and guys that have been part of different organizations, but it's about winning. It's about the bigger picture. And these guys they buy into that, they believe that, and they understand that the success of the team will help out each individual. And that's all we're trying to do is help them reach their highest potential.
Jamahl Mosley here on the Rich Eisen Show. How do you keep it going? I know that's a very esoteric question, but how? Seriously, and in a world where players are plugged into what everyone else is talking about, I think more than ever, and you flip on any screen talking about the NBA, certainly in your conference, Celtics, Bucks hiring, Doc middle of the season. The Cavaliers are taking off. The Knicks are feeling good, and then eventually they'll get around to you, Jamahl. So how do you keep that fire burning for your team?
Well, this group has been special from the summer, and we've had discussions and conversations. And I think the best thing that happened to us was that early 9-game run where we ran 9 straight off. I thought that was a good thing because, you're not going to win all of them. And so when we hit a patch of a couple losses, some injuries, you go back and you're not the main story. And so trying to help them understand that we have to do what we do, and you can't control outside voices or sources. You just have to focus on your body of work every single day, through the highs and lows. And so I think that's been the message that the people in our organization, in our locker room, those are the ones that are pouring into you the things that are going to help you be successful. And then the other side is take it one game at a time.
Do you play the nobody believes in this card? Do you do that?
Not as much. I really do believe it's just if you can just focus on what we do, and that will take care of itself. Because there's so many things that you can't control, other than how hard you play every single night and how you're pouring into each other on a regular basis.
Jamahl Mosley, Orlando Magic head coach. Few minutes left with him right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Would you want more challenges in your back pocket for games?
Yes. Yes. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think I have to.
I'm with you. So, why?
I think when you have the option to use it early, getting it back later is always good because you're not always going to, sometimes they're going to overturn them, sometimes they're not. And so I think the ability to have a couple more would be good, just for the sake of the game, a timeout, a out of bounds play, a out of bounds call that they may have missed that they can't review. And I think those are opportunities for us to, to gain another possession.
So so would you want it like the NFL where you get 2 and you get both of them right, you get a third, you get 1 right, then you get a second? Like what's the right number? Like what would you, if you could wave a wand and you make it happen, what would it be for you?
I'd probably go the 2+1. I think getting that third back it would be good.
Okay. Because right now I imagine, have you ever used a challenge in the first half of a game?
I have and lost. So yes.
Do you remember? You must remember the circumstance. What was it? To avoid a third foul on somebody important? What were?
I think it might have been a possession of an out of bounds and low clock, and we wanted to use I think we had a 2-for-1 scenario, and I wanted to get the ball back. So I think that's when we used it.
All right, I'm fascinated by this sort of stuff as well. How does it work? You have somebody behind the bench who's in like what's the mechanism for you to figure this out?
If you notice any NBA game, when something happens that a player doesn't like, the first thing they're doing is going here.
Yes.
To all the coaches, so they're looking at me. We have someone behind our bench, Amir, who does a very good job. He's looking at the iPad to see it real time, to see if it actually is a call, the right call, no call, or if we can get away with it. And they study the rules just the same way that the referees do. So trying to make sure that it's the right thing by the exact call of the book.
And what about maybe having it like the NFL as well? Last 2 minutes, all replays come from New Jersey, for instance.
I like that.
You do?
I like that. Yeah, I actually do.
So then why let me just ask this question. Do most of your colleagues in your position share this belief? Do you believe?
I think it goes back and forth. I think everybody has their own way of wanting to do it. I mean, I think the challenge does help. And again, you just want to make sure it's always going to be the fair call. I think that's the biggest piece for me.
Yeah, but I understand that there's a back, and forth about, well, let's not stop the game as much as, because you could stop the game pretty much every possession to review something, I imagine, in the last 2 minutes of a game. And then you might have a leg up on your opponent because your opponent doesn't have many timeouts left, and suddenly they're stealing timeouts that for resting and things of that nature. I understand that, but wouldn't you think getting everything right as opposed to learning in the 2-minute report afterwards that it wasn't gotten right? I mean, wouldn't you rather it that way, right?
I think every coach has been hit with that, and being able to have the timeouts and the challenges towards the end is important. And it's not an exact science. And I think just as we're going to, continue to build and move forward, we'll have to figure out different ways to make it right where everybody can find a way to be happy in it.
All right, last one for you, Jamahl Mosley. I got to go back to what you told me before, that you were looking at, what was it, a 2009 playoff game, and you were on staff of Denver taking on the Lakers, right?
Yep,
and you
8-9, yep.
Okay. And at one point during that part of the conversation, you said it was something about defending Kobe on inbounds passes or something like that. And what did you learn? What do you learn from watching Kobe back in the day that you can download to your team right now?
I mean, just his poise, I mean, you talk about the mentality. He just wasn't going to let that team lose. What I had originally showed the guys was his mentality of when the reporter asked him when they actually played Orlando, they said, "Why aren't you smiling? You're up 2-0." And he said, "The job's not done." And more than anything, it was the mentality of, like, you haven't accomplished anything yet. And I think that's what resonates with our guys, is that, yes, everyone's saying where we are and what we're doing and the streak is good, but what have we done? And I think trying to make that, help our guys understand that, is very important. And it keeps you humble enough to know that there's still room to grow, to get better. And we still have things that we want to achieve to help each one of these guys become successful.
So you tell people in your video department, cut me that soundbite and then play it for the guys.
Yep.
When do you play it for them? After a practice or something like that?
No, I mean, we'll do some before practice. We did one the other day before a Detroit game. I think just little things, snippets that you can take from anyone that has done it at a high level, and it's the mindset that you have to take going into these games. And part of it is, as you make a playoff push, you realize guys are going to be sore, you're going to be beat up, and how do you respond to that? Especially with a young group, continue to learn how to win, taking advice and the lead of guys who have been there and that have done it at a high level. You can learn so much from that.
Now, do you watch their faces when you hit play on the Kobe soundbite, or do you watch the soundbite? What do you do?
I watch their faces.
And what did you see?
You recognize that when they see him on the screen, eyes light up. There's an automatic respect factor and a care factor, and just knowing what he has meant to this game and each one of these young guys you can't put it into words. So when they see him on the screen, it's like automatic, just knowing who he is and how much he's impacted their lives.
I really enjoyed this chat. I hope you did as well, Coach. Thank you for the time. Congrats on the nice run here. And I would have said, tell Mo and Franz go blue for me, but you said, oh man, when I mentioned Michigan. So I don't know if you're really.
No, I love the guys.
Okay.
It's just we've had a lot of them come through with the Orlando Magic. It's a good thing though.
Okay, good.
Great.
Okay, good.
We had Mo, Franz, Caleb, Jet. We had Brasikas. We've had a Wolverine run.
It's a nice run. I feel, but I'm biased. And congrats on the current run that you're on, and best of luck continuing it. And I hope we get to chat again shortly. Thanks for the call.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Grateful. Thank you.
Right, you bet. That's Jamahl Mosley, head coach of the Orlando Magic, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. I love talking process with head coaches and how they handle things. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.